All right. So, if you've ever been completely overwhelmed and unsure where to start with goal setting, this is a great place to begin. Right. This is the place typically always begin, especially if goal setting hasn't been done for a long period of time, and you've been working through some stuff and lots of progress, not progress, whatever. These are good peaks of achievements, and then these are kind of lulls where you're like, I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't know why I'm not motivated, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So these things are all fine and good, but over time, it becomes really clear that if you had a system to kind of get back to kind of ground zero each time, you'd be in a really good place. So let's say you do one kind of goal achievement and you stop, and then you decide, you know what, I want to set a new goal, and we're going to kind of start here, and then kind of do that, then we stop, and then we say, okay, great. So you can build on your progress and kind of create a deeper trend line as you go along, which is great. So here's how you begin, right? Very very simply. Typically starts with a list, right? So getting things off your mind. It's like a second brain, right? That sort of thing. Plus a list equals 2x the brain, right? So with the list, what you're starting with is very simply, list all the achievements over the past year, right? So this might, the past year is just a arbitrary timeline, but it's helpful to just take a kind of a starting point and kind of build from there. So this starting point might include some cool things like, let's say I reference for myself, like, what are the things I did last year? It's like, well, I traveled a few countries, right? I enjoyed snowboarding season, right? It doesn't always happen every year, but I made the time, made the effort, and kind of made it happen. So it was really, it was an achievement for me, right? And then also managed funds, right? Which is again like a continual learning curve. I'm kind of somewhat new areas, new economic environments. All these things were huge learning curves. So that was important. Right? And then I learned about Web3. Right? And then I made a blog post. Right? And I et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you write down all those things. Some things could be minor too, right? It could be like, I did 20 push-ups today. Right? For me, that's a big deal because I'm recovering from an injury. Right? Oh, that's another thing. I totally forgot. I recovered from shoulder impingement, right? And then, so those are all like, you can write down as many things as you can think of in a relatively quick fashion. And what this is designed to do is to put you in a much more kind of resourceful state. Symbol, I don't know why it feels like it's resourceful, right? Because it's flexible, kind of do cool things. Maybe it's a 4-leaf clover, right? Whatever it needs to be. To kind of put you into like a more resourceful state. So what that means is you're going to feel way more capable of doing a goal setting process after doing this than you would before. And the importance of that is going to be, what you're actually doing is you're kind of setting up a new base camp here, whereas this was your old base camp. And let's say this is Everest. Let's draw it over here actually on the side. So the nature of goal setting is, before you set out on the goal, and it was relatively not as daunting because you don't know how hard it is or how high you can go, right? And then when you get there, you're like, this is awesome. This is great. I'm 90% the way there. I've done all of this work. I'm all the way up here. And then you don't want to lose that sense, that feeling, right? So it's a feeling of success, right? That's my cup of success here. And but then things change, right? If you want to reset this to be your new zero, then all of a sudden this whole thing has to essentially die, right? This is your identity. Your identity is, I'm a really high achiever. Look how much I've done. I've done this really great thing. And setting a new goal is threatening to that, because it makes this seem like this, right? Seems like that big. Let's see if we go back to the red. Like this would be like the equivalent of where you're at in the next goal, but your aspiration is much higher, right? So pretty rough example here, but I think you might follow. So once you establish this and you're like, okay, new scale, right? So this was my old goal. That's fine. I've achieved it. I'm happy with it. But then this is my new goal, and it doesn't have to be up here. It could be here. Actually, I recommend it to be 51% realistic for you. So for instance, if you pick a goal and it's 100x where you were before, sometimes that can work against you, right? This might seem so intimidating that your brain doesn't know how to process it. But the goal setting process actually helps you break this down, and then it also helps you turn this into small segments that are going to be much more manageable in your psyche along the way, right? So